This has to be a mistake.
I think you've got the wrong person.
No, Miss Harper. Mr. Arthur named you personally.
She was serving coffee. Why would he choose me?
Because you gave him something none of us ever did.
Stop speaking in riddles!
Mr. Calloway instructed me not to explain.
Who was he really?
3 days earlier, Lily Harper believed her biggest problem was finding enough money to pay next month's rent. She had no idea that buying breakfast for a quiet old stranger would pull her into a battle over a billion-dollar company and reveal a secret that would change her life forever. Every morning started the same way. Lily Harper woke before her alarm because worry never let her sleep until it rang. She lived in a tiny apartment above an old laundromat. The paint on the walls had begun to peel. The kitchen faucet leaked. The heater groaned every winter. Still, she kept everything spotless. Her mother used to say, "When life feels messy, clean one corner." Sometimes that's enough to remind yourself you still have control. Lily had never forgotten those words. She counted the money inside the jar. $20, $40, $63. That was everything she had until payday. Rent was due in 3 days. The electricity bill sat unopened. Her 10-year-old Honda needed new brakes. She sighed, stacked the bills neatly, and pushed them aside. Looking at them longer wouldn't change the numbers. The photograph leaned against the coffee maker. Her mother, Emily Harper, the strongest person Lily had ever known. Emily had worked 2 jobs while raising her daughter alone. Even during chemotherapy, she'd found reasons to smile. Cancer eventually took her life, but it never took the kindness she left behind. Whenever someone was hungry, Emily always found something to share. She'd often say, "Kindness isn't measured by how much you have. It's measured by what you're willing to give when you don't have much at all." Lily whispered, "I miss you." Then she tucked the photo carefully into her wallet before leaving for work. Sonny's family diner wasn't famous. It wasn't trendy. The booths were worn. The coffee mugs didn't match. But people came because they felt welcome. Sonny, the owner, had known Lily since she was 19. The moment she walked in, he looked up from the grill. "You eat breakfast?" She smiled. "Not hungry." He narrowed his eyes. "Liar." A minute later, he placed a warm blueberry muffin beside her. "I made too many." They both knew he hadn't. She broke it in half and handed one piece back. "Then we're sharing." Sonny grinned. "Deal." The breakfast rush arrived right on schedule. Construction workers, teachers, parents, retirees. Lily moved through the diner with practiced ease. She remembered names, favorite orders, who's recovering from surgery, whose grandson had just graduated. Customers tipped her because she made them feel remembered. Not because she was trying to impress anyone, because she genuinely cared. Small acts of kindness had become second nature. She never imagined one of them was about to change her life. Around 9 o'clock, the front door opened. A chilly autumn breeze drifted inside. An elderly man entered quietly. His gray coat was clean but worn. His shoes had been repaired more than once. He moved slowly, not because he was weak, but because he seemed tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. He chose the smallest booth by the window. Lily walked over with the coffee pot. "Good morning." The man looked up and smiled. A gentle smile, the kind that reached his eyes. "Good morning." She poured fresh coffee. "What can I get for you today?" He opened the menu. His eyes lingered on the breakfast specials. Then after a long pause, he closed it. "Just the coffee." Lily nodded. "Coming right up." As she walked away, something didn't feel right. It wasn't his clothes. It wasn't pride. It was recognition. She knew that look. The quiet calculation of someone deciding whether they could afford to eat. 20 minutes later, the man's wallet slipped from the table. Lily picked it up. Only a few bills were tucked inside. He accepted it with an embarrassed smile. "Thank you." She smiled back. "It happens." For the rest of the morning, she couldn't stop thinking about him. She looked toward the grocery envelope tucked inside her apron. $18. That was all she had set aside for food until payday. She remembered her mother's voice. "If you can help someone today, don't wait for tomorrow." Before she could change her mind, she walked into the kitchen. "Sonny." He looked up. "What is it?" "I need one full breakfast." "For table 7?" He didn't order one. Sonny stared at her. You're paying. She nodded. He sighed softly. You don't exactly have money to spare. I know. Without another word, Sunny plated scrambled eggs, toast, bacon, fruit, then quietly added 2 pancakes. She raised an eyebrow. I didn't order pancakes. I did. The man looked confused. I only ordered coffee. I know. There must be some mistake. There isn't. I can't pay for this. You don't have to. He looked into her eyes. Why? She shrugged gently. Because everyone deserves breakfast. For several seconds he couldn't speak. Finally he whispered. It's been years since someone has shown me kindness without wanting something in return. Lily smiled. Then enjoy it while it's hot. She walked away before he could thank her again. She never saw him wipe a tear from the corner of his eye. When he finished eating, the elderly man walked toward the register. He paid only for the coffee. Sunny smiled. The breakfast's already covered. The man turned toward Lily. She was wiping another table. He approached slowly. I never asked your name. Lily. I'm Arthur. It's nice to meet you. He reached into his coat and handed her a plain cream-colored business card. No company logo. No title. Just a name. Arthur Calloway. And a phone number. If you ever need help, he said quietly, call me. Lily smiled politely. That's very kind. She slipped the card into her apron without another thought. To her, he was simply a grateful customer. That evening after closing, Lily emptied her apron pockets onto her kitchen table. Receipts. A pen. Loose change. Arthur's business card. She almost threw it away. Instead, she tucked it inside her wallet behind the photograph of her mother. Outside, rain began tapping against the window. Miles away, a black sedan sat across the street from Sunny's diner. Arthur Calloway watched the lights go out one by one. Daniel Reeves, his longtime assistant, glanced over from the driver's seat. So, Arthur kept his eyes on the diner. I've met CEOs who could negotiate billion-dollar contracts. I've met politicians who could inspire thousands. I've met graduates from the finest universities in the world. He paused. But today, I met a waitress who gave away her own grocery money to feed a stranger. Daniel remained silent. Arthur finally turned toward him. Find out everything there is to know about Lily Harper. Daniel nodded. You think she's the one? Arthur looked back at the diner. A faint smile crossed his face. I don't know yet. But tomorrow, the real test begins. Lily hardly slept. Arthur's words lingered in her mind. If you ever need help, call me. She had met kind customers before. She had even met wealthy customers. But there was something different about Arthur. He hadn't acted like someone trying to impress her. He had simply looked grateful. By the time she reached Sunny's family diner, she had almost convinced herself the entire encounter was over. She was wrong. The breakfast rush was already beginning when the front door opened. A man in an expensive charcoal suit stepped inside. Everything about him seemed precise. His shoes were polished. His tie was perfectly straight. Even the way he walked suggested years spent in boardrooms rather than diners. Several customers looked up. He wasn't there for breakfast. He was looking for someone. His eyes settled on Lily. Miss Harper. She looked up from pouring coffee. That's me. My name is Daniel Reeves. He offered his hand. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Arthur Calloway. Sunny glanced over from the grill without saying a word. The entire diner suddenly seemed quieter. Daniel placed an envelope on the counter. Mr. Calloway would like to invite you to visit him this afternoon. Lily frowned. I think there's been some mistake. There hasn't. I only bought him breakfast. Daniel smiled. Yes. That's exactly why you're here. She didn't open the envelope immediately. Instead, she continued serving customers. She refilled coffee, delivered pancakes, cleared empty plates. But every few minutes, her eyes drifted back to the envelope resting beside the register. It felt heavier than paper should. When the lunch rush slowed, Sunny walked over. You gonna open it? Lily hesitated. What if they're trying to sell me something? Sunny laughed. I don't think billionaires send assistants to sell vacuum cleaners. She smiled despite herself. Carefully, she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. Miss Harper, thank you for reminding me that kindness still exists. If you can spare 1 hour today, I'd appreciate the opportunity to thank you properly. Arthur Calloway. Beneath the note was an address. Calloway Industries headquarters. Curiosity got the better of her. She searched his name. Her eyes widened. Business magazine covers. National television interviews. Articles describing him as one of the country's most respected entrepreneurs. His company employed thousands of people across North America. Lily looked back at the photograph on her screen. It was the same man. The same gentle smile. The same eyes. She whispered, "You're kidding." For the rest of her shift, she couldn't concentrate. She accidentally poured decaf instead of regular coffee. Forgot a customer's extra toast. Nearly dropped an entire tray of drinks. Sunny finally walked over. "Go." "What?" "Your shift ends in 10 minutes. You'll be short-staffed." "I'll survive." He nodded toward the envelope. "You'll regret not going." Lily stood outside the building, suddenly feeling very small. Employees in tailored suits walked confidently through the revolving doors. Luxury cars lined the curb. She looked down at her blue diner uniform. She almost turned around. Then she remembered something her mother once told her after a difficult job interview. Never decide you don't belong somewhere before someone else has the chance to. Taking a deep breath, she walked inside. The marble lobby echoed with quiet conversations. A receptionist looked up. "May I help you?" I have an invitation from Mr. Arthur Calloway." The receptionist glanced at the envelope. Her expression immediately softened. "Of course, Miss Harper." She picked up the phone. "Mr. Reeves, she's here." Within moments, Daniel appeared. "I'm glad you came. I almost didn't." "I know." Arthur stood beside the window. He smiled warmly. "Lily." "Mr. Calloway." "Arthur, please." "I don't think I can do that." He chuckled. "I appreciate honesty." Dinner had already been prepared. Nothing extravagant. Roast chicken. Fresh vegetables. Homemade soup. Warm bread. Arthur noticed her hesitation. "You skipped lunch." She looked surprised. "How did you know?" "The same way you knew I skipped breakfast." For the first time that day, Lily laughed. They spoke for nearly an hour. Not about business. About family. About hard work. About loss. Arthur listened far more than he talked. When Lily mentioned her mother, she unconsciously touched the worn photograph inside her wallet. Arthur noticed. "You still carry her with you. Every day. What would she think if she saw you now?" Lily smiled sadly. "She'd probably tell me to stop worrying so much." Arthur nodded thoughtfully. "She sounds like a remarkable woman." She was. Arthur placed the receipt on the table. "I've kept this." Lily looked embarrassed. "It was only breakfast." Arthur shook his head. "No. It was a choice. You had almost nothing. You still chose generosity." She looked down. "My mother would have done the same." "I believe she would." Arthur stood and walked toward the window. Then, without turning around, he asked, "Tell me something. If you saw someone being treated unfairly, and speaking up could cost you your job, what would you do?" Lily didn't answer immediately. She thought carefully. Finally, she said, "I'd like to think I'd speak up." "You'd like to think?" "I've learned it's easy to be brave in your imagination. It's much harder when your rent depends on staying quiet." Arthur smiled. "That's the most honest answer I've heard in years." He reached into a folder and handed her a visitor's badge. "I'd like you to spend tomorrow at one of our facilities." Lily looked confused. "I'm not qualified to work here." "I'm not asking you to work." "Then what am I supposed to do?" "Watch." "Watch what?" "People." "I'm serious," Arthur continued. "Don't try to impress anyone. Don't tell anyone why you're there. Simply observe." Lily frowned. "Is this some kind of interview?" Arthur smiled but didn't answer. The silence itself was an answer. As Daniel drove Lily home, curiosity finally overcame her. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why me?" Daniel kept his eyes on the road. "I've worked for Arthur for 24 years. I've watched him hire brilliant people. I've watched him fire brilliant people. but I've never seen him become interested in someone because of intelligence. He glanced at her. He pays attention to character. When Lily arrived back at the diner to collect her car, Sunny was locking the front door. Well, she exhaled. I have absolutely no idea what's happening. Sunny laughed. Sometimes that's how the biggest changes begin. She looked down at the visitor's badge in her hand. Tomorrow she'd walk into one of the largest companies in the country. Not as an employee. Not as a customer. As an observer. She had no idea that at that very moment, inside Callaway Industries, several senior executives were already reading a report about her. One of them tossed the file onto the table. A waitress. Another executive folded his arms. Arthur has finally lost his mind. A third executive looked toward the boardroom window. No. I think he's testing all of us. The room fell silent. Outside, lightning flashed over the city. None of them realized that the greatest threat to their careers wasn't another executive. It was a woman whose biggest act of ambition had been buying breakfast for a stranger. Lily arrives wearing a visitor badge. Arthur has given only one instruction. Don't look for problems. Watch people. She doesn't understand what he's testing. What is Arthur hoping she'll notice? She notices Miguel, a veteran employee. He's respected by coworkers but ignored by management. He quietly reports that a machine's safety guard is failing. His supervisor dismisses him. Lily notices something isn't right. A loud crash echoes through the warehouse. Boxes fall. A young employee suffers a minor injury. Management immediately blames Miguel. Everyone knows he isn't responsible. Nobody speaks. Lily remembers Arthur's question. Would you speak if it cost you something? She steps forward. She calmly explains exactly what she saw. Several workers reluctantly agree. The supervisor becomes furious. Arthur watches everything through internal security cameras. Daniel stands beside him. Daniel says, "She didn't hesitate." Arthur quietly answers, "Neither did the others." He points to the supervisors who stayed silent. Arthur isn't testing Lily anymore. He's testing everyone else. Instead of eating with executives, Lily chooses the employees. She learns. Workers have lost bonuses. Safety complaints disappear. Managers pressure people into staying quiet. One employee whispers, "Mr. Callaway would never allow this." Lily starts wondering, does Arthur know what's happening? While waiting outside an office, Lily accidentally notices a folder left open. Inside are inspection reports. Several safety violations have been marked as resolved. But she knows they haven't been. She doesn't steal the file. She simply remembers what she read. This small decision shows integrity. Arthur privately asks Lily one question. If everyone else ignored what you saw, would you? She quietly answers, "No." Arthur smiles. Good. Unknown to Lily, several executives are watching through the glass wall. One whispers, "She's becoming a problem." Daniel accidentally leaves Arthur's notebook on the conference table. Lily doesn't read it. She simply closes it and returns it. Arthur notices. Another test. Another one she passes without realizing. That evening Arthur calls an emergency board meeting. Before he can speak, he suddenly grabs his chest. He collapses. The room erupts into panic. Lily instinctively rushes to help while several executives freeze in shock. Arthur may not survive the night. And Lily still has no idea why he chose her. Arthur survives the collapse but remains in critical condition. Doctors explain that he needs complete rest. Before being taken for further treatment, Arthur briefly opens his eyes. He looks at Lily. He whispers only 4 words. "Finish what you started." Before Lily can ask what he means, he's wheeled away. Retention question. What did Arthur want her to finish? The executives call an emergency meeting. Without Arthur present, they immediately begin blaming Lily. One executive says she manipulated Arthur. Another claims she came looking for money. They vote to cancel her visitor access. Daniel argues that Arthur personally invited her. No one listens. Lily leaves quietly, refusing to argue. A reporter somehow learns about Lily. News headlines appear. Waitress gains access to billionaire CEO. Who is Lily Harper? Online comments become cruel. Strangers call her a scammer. Some even show up at Sunny's diner asking questions. Business at the diner drops. Regular customers feel uncomfortable. A few believe the rumors. Sunny tries to stay positive, but Lily notices the empty booths. She apologizes. Sunny shakes his head. You didn't do anything wrong. Lily isn't convinced. She begins blaming herself. Daniel visits Lily after work. He finally tells her why Arthur became interested. For over 15 years, Arthur had quietly observed people. Executives, managers, consultants, potential successors. Every one of them eventually chose ambition over integrity. Then Daniel places Arthur's leather notebook on Lily's kitchen table. Inside are years of handwritten observations. On the last page is one simple note. Kindness when no one is watching. Beside it is the breakfast receipt from Sunny's diner. Lily realizes Arthur had never been testing intelligence. He had always been testing character. Even after learning the truth, Lily refuses to become part of the company. She tells Daniel, "I'm not the person he's looking for." She returns the visitor badge. She puts Arthur's business card in a kitchen drawer. The next morning, she goes back to serving coffee as though nothing had happened. She decides her life is simpler this way. Arthur's condition worsens overnight. Daniel sits beside him. Arthur quietly asks one final question. Did she come back? Daniel lowers his head. No. Arthur smiles faintly. Good. Daniel looks confused. Arthur whispers. Then she still doesn't want anything from me. A few moments later, Arthur peacefully passes away. 3 days after the breakfast at Sunny's diner, Lily receives a phone call from Arthur's attorney. He says only one sentence. Miss Harper, Mr. Calloway requested your presence at the reading of his final instructions. She almost declines. She has no idea that when she walks into that boardroom, every executive in the company will be waiting for her. The woman who thought the story was over is about to discover it has only just begun. Lily enters wearing the same blue diner uniform she wore the day she met Arthur. The room immediately grows tense. Several executives exchange frustrated looks. One whispers, "She actually came." The company's attorney greets her politely and asks her to take the only empty seat. It's Arthur's seat. Lily quietly refuses. She chooses an ordinary chair at the end of the table instead. The attorney notices. Another silent clue about her character. The attorney places a small flash drive into the room's display system. Arthur appears on the screen. He's calm, smiling, and speaking directly to the board. He begins, "If you're watching this, then I'm no longer here." He thanks the employees who built the company and explains that Callaway Industries was never meant to be remembered for its size. It was meant to be remembered for the way it treated people. He says the board spent years searching for the smartest successor. He spent years searching for the most trustworthy one. Arthur reveals that the breakfast itself was never the reason. It was simply the first moment that caught his attention. He explains that many people had been kind to him when they knew who he was. Lily was kind when she believed he was an ordinary stranger with nothing to offer. That made him curious. Over the next 3 days, he quietly watched every decision she made. She defended workers she didn't know. She refused special treatment. She respected confidential information. She chose honesty even when it brought criticism. Arthur says, "Character isn't proven by one good deed. It's proven when no one tells you you're being tested." The attorney explains that months before his death, Arthur had transferred control of the company into a succession trust. The trust contained clear conditions. The successor had to demonstrate integrity, independence, and a commitment to protecting employees. Arthur's observations, along with independent legal and governance reviews, showed that Lily met those conditions while none of the candidates under consideration did. This wasn't a spontaneous inheritance. It was the conclusion of a carefully planned succession process. The attorney presents evidence of the executive's misconduct. Safety reports were altered. Complaints were buried. Financial incentives encouraged silence. Independent investigators are already reviewing the evidence. Several executives quietly leave the room. Others remain ashamed. Daniel simply lowers his head. Arthur had known more than anyone realized. Everyone expects Lily to accept immediately. Instead, she asks one question. If I say yes, can I protect the people who work here? The attorney smiles. That was Mr. Calloway's hope. Only then does Lily sign the documents. Not because of the money, not because of the title, because she finally understands the responsibility Arthur saw in her. The company begins to change. Safety programs are expanded. Anonymous reporting systems are introduced. Employee emergency assistance is created in memory of Lily's mother, Emily Harper. Warehouse employees who have been ignored are finally heard. Miguel is promoted to lead workplace safety improvements. Sonny receives a handwritten invitation to visit headquarters. When he arrives, Lily greets him with a warm hug. She thanks him for teaching her that kindness doesn't have to be expensive. Sonny laughs. I only bought half the pancakes. Late one evening, Lily sits alone in her office. She looks at the breakfast receipt that started it all. It isn't displayed because it changed her life. It's displayed because it reminds her why she leads. The camera slowly pulls back as the lights of the city glow outside the window. Final. The world remembers companies for their profits, but people remember leaders for the lives they change. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.